Welcome back to Libby's Lounge Patreon edition, where we are recording the unofficial audiobook for the Assassin's Alliance. Let's dive in. Chapter 26, Maureen, 18 months later, 1995. Olivia's integration into the Legacy Blood team was seamless. She bridged the rift between Rosemary and the others and found common ground with Eileen. It's impossible to imagine the team without her. She and Andrew became inseparable. If she had been raised by anyone other than June, I don't think she would have handled the pressure I put her under. She ran missions with teams, navigated her liaison position with HS with complete secrecy, and ran a separate, covert mission for me. All the while, she managed to win the hearts of everyone and make it look effortless. Even Elijah. But that was the mission. Her ability to fight off sin was a game changer. Not only did it showcase the weaknesses, but it had the potential for us to train our assets on as a failsafe. Olivia's idea. But I was worried about her ongoing obsession with it. She'd placed herself at Elijah's side, and I tried to warn her. He will ruin her. But no one can tell Olivia what to do. And to her credit, she's usually right. Usually. What did people bring on a covert mission to Europe? She'd never had an assignment like this. Long-term, undercover. Her lips lifted at the idea of her and Andrew together for 3 months, uninterrupted, except for the kidnapping, interrogation, and possible execution of a Hale operative believed to be leaking information to Onyx. She couldn't wait. A knock on the apartment door interrupted her decision of which bikini to bring. "I've got it," Andrew called from the living room. They were in her New York apartment, just a few blocks from the Institute. She needed a place her father could find her, so living at the Institute was not an option, but she loved the freedom and space she called her own. "Mo?" "Be right there." She threw both bikinis in. She could never have too many, and headed to the living room. "What's up?" "Mo. I like it." Maureen's smile disappeared as she stepped into the living room, eyes falling on Mike standing in the doorway. Andrew not letting him cross the threshold. She looked past him for Oliver, who'd returned to Philly just a few months ago, but he was alone. "So, this the new boyfriend?" Mike eyed Andrew. Buzzing started in Maureen's ears. She rocked her jaw, trying to clear the noise, and scoffed instead. "What brings you to New York?" she asked, moving beside Andrew. She hooked her arm in his, tension clear in his muscles beneath her fingertips. There was no reason for Mike to be here. She'd broken off their fate dating 6 months ago, Maureen needing her focus on helping Francis track down the leak and Hale security without cluing Mike in. Mike pressed his lips together to suppress his smirk. "I need a minute." "Mo." Andrew's voice was low, his concern laced throughout, and Maureen couldn't blame him. He knew everything about Mike, every word he'd said to her, every crack he'd etched into her heart. There were no secrets between her and Andrew, and it was the freest she had ever been. But Mike showing up unannounced was out of the ordinary, and he didn't know Andrew knew about him. "It's okay, Drew. Mike's an old friend. I'm sure he won't be long." "Not at all," Mike said, stepping into the apartment like he owned it. Maureen rolled her eyes, giving Andrew's arm a small squeeze. "Go grab something to eat?" she suggested. He grunted, staring daggers at their uninvited guest. "I would love some Thai," Mike said, dropping onto the couch. "Cow pad chicken." Maureen shook her head. "We won't be long," she said, leaning in to kiss Andrew's cheek. But he turned his head, catching her lips. He wrapped his arms around her body, pulling her in for a deeper kiss, and she smiled against him, his eyes still open and staring at Mike. She pulled back, affectionately running her fingers along her lips. "I'll be right back," he said, placing another kiss on her forehead before leaving. Maureen bit her lower lip, cheeks warming as she turned to Mike, pure jealousy painted on his face. "Nice, Liv." "You started it," she said. She took a seat in the armchair across from him, waiting for him to say something. But the minutes ticked by in silence, and finally she asked, "Why are you here?" He adjusted on the couch. "Oliver's girlfriend." She stared at him. "You're joking, right?" "Not at all. She's terrible," he said, leaning forward on his forearms. "She's European and doesn't understand the life at all, and oh my God, Mike, you can't just show up here because your boyfriend got himself a girlfriend." "Why not?" Mike whined. "No one else understands." Maureen palmed her forehead, leaning her elbow on her knee, and released a sigh. "Hurts, doesn't it?" she asked, catching the confusion on his face. "What?" "Being put second?" Mike had never been put second by Oliver in his entire life, and it gave her a sense of satisfaction to see him here, feeling that burn. "Must be serious. Maybe you should get yourself a girlfriend, or a boyfriend, or whatever tickles your fancy." A pain looked across his face before he could cover it up. "I need you to talk some sense into your brother." Mike, he'll listen to you. He always does. And Mike, we're leaving on a trip in a few hours. You need to go. He didn't move, though, his gaze holding her in place. Fuck. It'd been 5 years, and her heart still ached when she thought about what they could have been if he hadn't betrayed her, if she hadn't killed her mother. Don't you wish we can go back? He whispered. To when you didn't have to live this double life? No, she said honestly. Would she go back? Never. But she didn't regret what they had. He had saved her when she needed it, loved her when no one else seemed to. You can't even bring him home. What about when Oliver has kids? Don't you want them to know their Auntie Liv? I thought you didn't like his girlfriend, Maureen said, ignoring the lump in her throat. Of course she wanted to be there for her nieces and nephews, wanted to give them what June had given her. He shook his head. I've never liked any of his girlfriends. This one's actually not half bad. Mike, what is this? She asked, exasperated, and glanced at the clock. They had 4 hours to get to the airport and still needed to stop by the Institute. Oliver's going to propose, and you're going to be invited to the wedding as a business guest, Liv. You won't be in the wedding pictures or... Get out, Maureen said, standing up. I don't know what this is, but you can't just show up here unannounced. Drew and I... Drew. He drawled the name out, twisting his face. His name is Drew? Andrew. And I told you he's good to me. In this fucked up scenario I find myself living in, I'm happy, Maureen said. Can't you just be happy for me? He stood too, moving to her side. He reached for her face and she swatted him away. Don't, she warned, her heart slamming into her chest, the buzzing in her ears daring to take over, and she shook her head to dislodge it. He dropped his hand, a glimpse of that pain crossing his face again, and he licked his lips before whispering, Do you love him? She'd been with Andrew since the day she killed her mother. They fit like 2 puzzle pieces, a perfect match. She couldn't imagine her life without him. No, that wasn't true. She could remember a life without him and never wanted to go back to that. But admitting that would compromise her. If her father found out, he would figure out she wasn't spying for him, she was spying on him. But Mike would never stop chasing her unless she gave him a reason to stop. And what if I do? She asked. Are you going to run to my father? Put my life in jeopardy? Your lives in jeopardy? I know what's at stake if I fuck this up. But Andrew didn't kill my aunt. And Andrew didn't torture me. Would he turn you over if he learned the truth? Or would he play along so you can keep coming home? What? He let out an exasperated sigh. We're getting older, Liv, and I don't want to grow old in a world where we don't get to share all the good things we actually do in this fucking life. If Alicia says yes, they're going to have a summer wedding. What are you talking about? Maureen asked, taken aback by the sudden change of subject. Mike swallowed hard, eyes averting as he took a step back. This visit was almost a condolence one. Her stomach dropped. Oliver took a bad hit last night. It was touch and go for about 7 hours, but you were the first person I wanted to call, Liv. My world was ending, and I know you hate me, but I wanted you. And you were the first person Ollie asked for when he woke up. Living like this? In hiding? It's not fair for any of us. Why didn't you call? She whispered around the knot stuck in her throat. Your dad forbade it? He shook his head, half a laugh leaving him. Said you had more important things to do. Fucking asshole. Maureen's eyes widened, and she knew that feeling, the betrayal of his dismissal, and her heart thumped hard for him, the memory of June's death as raw as the day it happened. If you think you can trust him, bring him home, he said, nodding toward the closed door. We'll keep it quiet. Fuck your dad. Oliver would love to meet him. And you? Maureen asked. Are you as happy as when you danced? Moisture threatened her eyes. She inhaled deep to keep them at bay and nodded. Good. When you get back from your whatever, come by the apartment. Meet Alicia. Make fun of Ollie for almost dying. The door to the apartment swung open, and they both looked over. Andrew paused in the doorway, the savory smell of Thai food wafting from the bags he held. I'll think about it, Maureen said, looking back at Mike. Did we really almost lose him? A weight settled over him as his bravado slipped off for a moment. He nodded and tapped his chest just above his heart. An inch to the left. He gave a sad smile before taking a deep breath and pulling himself back together. He reached for her shoulder, and she didn't move this time, instead covering his hands with hers. She held his gaze, trying to sort through what was her guilt and what was his. There was a lifetime of it. He looked over to Andrew and dropped his hand, his mischievous look covering his sadness. Get any for me? To her surprise, Andrew held out a bag. To go, he said, raising an eyebrow. Mike didn't complain, collecting the bag from him on his way to the door, and Maureen followed more slowly. Oliver almost died. She would have been the last of her family, and if her father had a say, she would have had no idea. She held the door open for him. Thank you, she said, knowing the danger he put himself in to come here. Her father had only gotten more ruthless in his age, and disobeying a direct order could be a death sentence. Hell, that's what she and Andrew were headed to Europe to handle. Enjoy your trip, and eat all the grilled cheese. It's on your father's tab. He smirked, and she couldn't stop the smile that filled her face. He looked over her shoulder and held up the food. Thanks, Andrew, he said, before leaving. Maureen closed the door behind him, allowing the buzzing that had started in her ears to travel through her until she shivered. What happened? Andrew asked, holding out a hand for her to join him. Maureen moved to the kitchen table, taking his hand and lowering into the chair. Oliver almost died, she said, eyes on their intertwined hands. He ran a thumb over the back of her hand, and she kept her eyes on him, the pain in Mike's face coming into mind. Do you need to go see him? Maureen looked up, furrowing her brow. What? No. We've got one chance to catch this leak. Plus, he's a grown-ass man who chose this life. Doesn't make it hurt less, he said, cupping her face. She leaned into it, letting her heart regulate back out. Mike wants me to bring you home. There must be a power struggle happening. He knows your legacy, but I don't think he cares. Or he thinks he can win you back, he said with a small frown. Maureen frowned too, trying to hold hers longer than him, but her lips began to twitch and she laughed, pulling one from him as well. There is not a version of this life where I exist without you, she said. We better hope I die first, or I'll be insufferable. He laughed again. Noted. He leaned in for a kiss, Maureen obliging, allowing him to ease the pain Mac had trudged up. Grab your suitcase. We're going to be late. And that is the end of chapter 26. I hope you guys enjoyed that. A little bit more Mike Maureen dynamic going on. However, I do very much love that Andrew is so secure in his relationship with Maureen, with all of their open communication and just emotional maturity, that he is not really threatened too much by Mike, which is fun to write because otherwise it's just a lot of drama and they've got too much going on to have drama, right? So anyways, thank you for hanging out, and I will see you guys in chapter 27.